This is the clip where everything changed for David Goggins. This is episode 1080, Joe Rogan Experience, featuring the amazing, as you can see on the screen, David Goggins. As you can see on my shirt, David Goggins. Let's go. I'm Coach Colin, coolest high-performance coach in the world. And if you want the absolute best insights to the videos and podcasts you love, smash that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Tell him, David.
Swim, but what gets everybody in this training, in all special ops training, is the water confidence, where they try to pretty much drown your ass. You know, all of our lives we've been breathing, and they take that from you, and they want to see how comfortable you are in the water. And there's only 1% African Americans in special operations. And I didn't know anything about African, like a lot of them are negative buoyant, which I am, because of the bone density. I struggled. But 6 weeks into the program, there was about 25 guys left out of about 150. I was there, and I didn't go to sleep for 6 weeks of the program. And I wanted to quit so badly, but I quit everything in my life. I copied through school. I wanted to prove people wrong. And so here I am in this Air Force program, starting to get a little more confidence, but this water was kicking my ass. And 6 weeks into the program, the doctor gave me a blood test. And realized I have sickle cell trait, not the anemia, but it still killed people. But so they put me out of training for a week. And when you go from being very uncomfortable in that water situation, and then now you're comfortable, and I'm sitting back watching the guys drown, 'cause I'm not part of the activities anymore for this week. I didn't want to get back in that damn water again. So the fear overcame me, and all my insecurities from my dad, from this small town, from everything started coming back. And even though no one knew how fucked up I was, kind of create this other person who was tough, I lived with this shit all the time. So me not wanting to go back in that water, the doctor called me back up. I thought I was going to get like a medical kick out of the military. So no quitting for me. They'll kick me out so I can have some pride. The doctor said, no, man, we could put you back in the training. And I was like, fuck. But after a week, I'm like, you know what? I missed 1 week. There's only 3 weeks left. There's a good chance, I could tough this shit out and go on. But I went back to the CO and the commanding officer of the program, and the sergeant said, hey, you got to start from day one because you missed, that week of training. And I broke. I couldn't imagine going back through that again. So I made up a lie. And I said, man, the sickle cell thing is really scaring me. It was the fucking water. It wasn't sickle cell. And I pretty much quit. Even though they gave me a medical, I quit. So from the age of 19 to the age of 22, I went and did a job called TAC-P, where you control fast movers behind enemy lines. Cool job, but there's no water. I was afraid of the water, so I avoided it. And I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300, to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I got out of the Air Force, and I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches at 24, and spraying at different steak and shakes, Red Lobster, whatever, from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven, and I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy who, yeah, I worked out, but I was fat. I didn't run, didn't PT, I just hit the gym. So driving home, turn the TV on, and what comes on, Discovery Channel show, and that's where everything changed for me. I was taking a shower, I walked out, heard these guys, and I watched the show, and it made me reflect big time on the piece of shit that I am, and I'm exactly what people said I was going to be. So
what was on this show that really struck home?
It was, I saw these guys going in the water, so I was terrified of it. I mean, I can't even express. Have you ever had a big fear? And I know a lot of fighters have fears and stuff like that, but they get over them. But a lot of us have these fears that you just don't want to fucking face. And I have a lot of them, had a lot of them. And that's what created the person who's in front of you today, and we'll get into that. But just a scared bitch is what I was. But I was watching these guys going through Hell Week, Class 224, and these guys ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out. A lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities. And I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there. When I was 14 years old, my mom was gonna get remarried to this great guy. He got murdered. And then I moved back to that small town in Brazil, and I everybody was to blame. My learning disability, my skin color, you know, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while, and I was like, man, I've got it. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. And so I had to man up, and I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have, no matter what the fuck it is, man. And these things would keep me up at night. No one, people who are hearing this shit, they will never really understand and grasp when you face these things and so many things, how they keep you up and haunt you at night.
I think there's a lot of people out there that know what you're talking about.
I mean, and so that's what it did. And I had two options: to either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month, and at 24 years old, knowing when I'm 50 fucking years old, I can reflect on this and think about what guy I never became, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed. So I started calling recruiters up. I said, I'm gonna go be a fucking Navy SEAL. And every recruiter, so there's a weight and height, so the weight and height limit to get in the military. And I was 6'1" and 297. And I had prior service, which was a big deal. So I called all these recruiters up, and all of them said, hey, how tall are you, blah, 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 blah. They got into conversations to see if I was even qualified. And by the time I got to my weight, phone would hang up pretty much, like, hey, you know what, call somebody else, you know, try to get in the reserves. So I tried to get in the reserves. And I called this guy named Steven Salgio, recruiter, up. And he said, hey, come on in. He saw me, put me through the weight standard, all this other stuff. And to get into the class I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I was like, fuck that, I can't do that. I grabbed my chocolate milkshake and went back to Ecolab. I'm going back to work, man. This is my life. So in this job, you're looking for cockroaches, looking for rodents and stuff like that. And this next morning, or this next night, I went to work, and I don't like cockroaches too much. I hit the mother load of cockroaches. And this restaurant got full of cockroaches and rodents and everything else. And I sat there and I said, this is my life. I said, this is my life. You are exactly who the fuck, this is it. And I said, this ain't gonna be it for me. So in that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. And I started working out like somebody, I became the most obsessed person on the planet Earth.
Man. That actually brings tears to my eyes a little bit, because like imagine if he just gave in and didn't push for what we know David Goggins to be now, and all the lives that he's changed. Like on Facebook, I'm a part of like a Can't Hurt Me David Goggins group, and there's people all the time, you know, getting after it, and they're doing it because they saw him do it. It's, oh man, I talked about it in the last video, man. The quicker you step into who you're supposed to be, the quicker you're gonna help the people that you're supposed to help. And it seems like there'd be nobody for you to help because you're just you, right? You know, you're not David Goggins, but you're you. And there's somebody who can only be helped by you. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be famous, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be important, you know? Man, I love that he's just like, he just made a decision that he's just going to go after it, you know, quit his job, just decided, you know, and that's all it takes, you know. And I always see this arc for people that do big things, you know. And again, you don't have to be famous to do big things, you know what I mean? There's always this complete shutdown of things. I talked about it in my last video, how I went through something where it was just like, I just gave up. I got fed up with the way things were, and I just started positioning myself towards, motivation and self-improvement every single day. And it takes a breakdown to get to a breakthrough, and I see it all the time with people, and it's a scary place to be, because that breakdown can cause you to, I've said it before, you can get fed up or you can give up, and that's the whole key to it. If you give up, you're going to go through some hard times, downward spiraling. But if you get fed up, you can really push yourself to some really exciting places. And I'm so happy that he pushed through, man. And you have to think of it. And again, I say it. It doesn't seem like anything because you're just you. But there's a version of you that could impact so many people. And even if it's just your family, and friends, that's still like 50 people. And then what happens from those 50? And then from them, and then from them. You can't underestimate the impact that you operating at your best could have on the world around you. I mean, look what happened when he stepped into his highest self, or when he at least started taking steps towards it, because who knows what he's going to be in life. He might be even more so than what we know now. But look what happened with him. And he's no better than you. Like, his story exemplifies that. He was a roach. He was killing roaches and rodents in restaurants, drinking milkshakes and eating donuts every day. Like, and now he's David Goggins. He's Goggins. Like, that should show people that there's, like, not just that there's hope for everybody, that there is a absolute beast inside of every single one of us. Every single one of us. Man, I love going back like this, even to hear him talk. He's like just not even nearly as polished as you see him now. He's definitely not as articulate. You could hear this little bit of this uncomfortableness in his voice as he's sitting there. Him and Joe don't know each other. It's so good, man. And also it shows a progression in him, because right now he's David Goggins, like, wow. But then all of a sudden you watch his most recent episode with Joe and it's like different level, which means that there's always room to progress, which sounds hard because it sounds like there's a huge mountain to climb, but that's actually a beautiful thing, that there's always room to progress. Wherever you're at right now, you can progress from there. It feels like you can't, but that's only because you're not taking the steps. And if you are taking the steps and you're stumbling, be proud. Be proud, because that's what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? The only way to walk tall is to walk, and work on your form on the way. Whew. Man, again, this is episode 1080. David Goggins' first appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. I'm out.